Hi everyone, and welcome back to Maths and Physics with Mr. Simons. Welcome to video 5 of grade 12 Analytical Geometry, doing the classwork that we need to know. So one of our compulsory questions, can we determine the equation of a tangent to a circle? Right? So in theory, we expect you to understand that the secant is a straight line that makes contact with a circle at two distinct points. If I draw a line right through a circle, it makes contact at two planes. That's called a secant. Alright. A tangent is a straight line that only makes contact at one point only. So if I draw a tangent, it makes one point contact only. Alright. Now, a tangent and a center line always meets at 90-degree angles due to theorem 8 that says my tangent must be perpendicular to the radius. Alright. So if I have a radius and it makes contact with a tangent, they always make contact at 90 degrees, and therefore we should know that the gradient of a tangent times the gradient of that normal there must equal -1, or the gradient of the radius. Right, so this is what we're going to use to solve the problem. So most of these problems are going to start, we're going to find the gradient of a radius, and from there we can find the gradient of the tangent, and then we find the equation of that straight line, which is y equal to mx plus c. So that's the theory. Let's look at the problems. So problem number 1, find the equation of a tangent to a circle, x squared plus y squared equal 25. I give x squared plus y squared, we assume you know it's centered at 0 and 0. Equal 25, so my radius is 5 at the point 3 and 4. So first, determine the gradient of the radius. So we have 0 and 0. And 3 and 4. So gradient of the radius, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 4 minus 0, 3 minus 0 gives me a gradient of 4 over 3. Now 4 over 3 times the gradient of the tangent must give me -1. So therefore we invert the fraction or find the reciprocal. So it becomes 3 over 4, but positive must now become negative. So my gradient of my tangent then becomes -3 over 4 because the tangent is perpendicular to the radius, meaning -3 over 4 times 4 over 3 will give me -1. So to find the equation of the tangent, because it's a straight line, we use the general formula y equal mx plus c, and we know now m is -3 over 4x plus c. All right? On the tangent, we're only given one point, which is 3 and 4 there. So we're going to substitute 3 and 4 into the equation. So this states that y is 4 when x equals 3. If we multiply, I have 3 times 3, which gives me 9. That's 9 over 4. Please, we don't multiply the 3 at the bottom. That's 3 over 1. So 3 times 3 is 9. And 4 times the 1 would then stay 4. If I take -9 over 4 over, it becomes +9 over 4, and we're left with c. 4 plus 9 over 4 is the same as saying 16 over 4 plus 9 over 4, which then gives me 25 over 4. So you can do that on your calculator. So we have the value of c, so the equation of a tangent, y then equal -3 over 4x plus 25 over 4. So in exam, 1 mark for getting the gradient of the radius. Another mark for getting the gradient of the tangent, because the tangent is perpendicular to the radius. 1 for substitution and 1 for final answer. So basically 4 marks. So this is centered at 0 and 0. It's not always centered there. So let's look at problem number 2. Determine the equation of a tangent to a circle. Given x minus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared equal 25, the point C minus 1 and 2. So this one is straight from a past exam paper. So there they've given the CMD, which is the diameter, and my center M, which is 2 and 4. So from there I can see that -2 becomes +2, -4 becomes +4. So again, I need to get the gradient of the radius cm. I had a blank moment there, my apologies. So gradient of the radius would become 4 minus 2, the two y values, and then 2 minus minus 1. So 4 minus 2 gives me 2, and 2 plus 1 would give me 3. So my gradient of my radius, 2 over 3. To get the tangent, we're going to invert and change the sign. So 2 over 3 becomes 3 over 2 negative, because the tangent is perpendicular to the radius. Right, so from there, to get the equation of the tangent, y equal mx plus c. Therefore, we can say y now, my gradient I have is minus 3 over 2x plus c. The only point I have on the tangent is minus 1 and 2. So if I sub in minus 1 and 2, according to this, y is 2 when x is minus 1 plus c. That gives me plus 3 over 2 if I take it over. Minus 3 over 2, so 2 minus 1.5 gives me half. So c equal half, therefore y equal minus 3 over 2x plus half. There's my equation of my tangent. Alright, let's look at the third problem. So we determine the equation of the tangent of the circle given x squared plus 2x plus y squared minus 6y equal 15 at the point B, 1 and 8. So where the two meet, the point is 1 over 8. So first, we're going to have to complete the square to find the coordinates of the center and the radius. So x squared plus 2x, half of 2x is 1. So half of 2, 1 squared. Then I have y squared minus 6y, half of minus 6 is minus 3. So therefore minus 3 squared equal to 15. So 1 squared, what I do on one side, I must do on the other side. So that also becomes 1 squared. Minus 3 squared also becomes minus 3 squared on the other side. So if I complete the square, square root of x squared x, square root of 1 squared becomes 1. So that 3 there becomes x plus 1 squared. Square root of y squared becomes y. Square root of negative 3 squared becomes negative 3. So therefore y minus 3 all squared. 15 plus 1 gives me 16, plus 9 then gives me 25. So my center there is minus 1 and 3. And my radius square root 25, which gives me 5. So to get the gradient of the radius, I have the point 1 and 8, where the radius and the tangent make contact. And I have the center minus 1 and 3. So again, gradient of the radius, the y value is first 8 minus 3. 1 minus minus 1. So 8 minus 3 gives me 5. 1 plus 1 gives me 2. Therefore, if my radius is 5 over 2, my tangent would be negative 2 over 5. Right? We simply flip the fraction around, and that is because my tangent is always perpendicular to the radius. They always meet at 90 degrees. So gradient of radius times the gradient of the tangent must equal minus 1. So equation, general formula, y equal mx plus c, m being negative 2 over 5x plus c. Right, the point where the two make contact on the tangent is 1 and 8. So I'm going to use 1 and 8 to find the coordinates of c. So according to this, x is 1 whilst y is 8. 1 times anything stays the same. So if I take minus 2 over 5 over, it becomes plus 2 over 5. That's the same as 40 over 5. So 40 plus 2 then gives me 42 over 5. And therefore my equation y equal minus 2 over 5x plus 42 over 5. Right, so I hope you enjoy and you understand the lesson. That's 3 different ways we can test the same question. So you need to practice all 3 to master it. So either centered at the origin, right, centered at any point, or it is via completing the square. Right, continue practicing, continue improving yourself. I hope this lesson I've developed helped you a lot. I'm thankful to God that I'm able to do something like this to help you. And I know God will assist you in becoming the best version of yourself. But He only rewards hard work. God bless. Bye.